The sun blazed mercilessly over the Mojave Desert, the heat shimmering in waves across the cracked earth. Not a single breeze whispered through the stillness. Just miles and miles of dust, thorny shrubs, and stone. For most, this place was a wasteland, forgotten, hostile, unforgiving. But for Jason Miller, it was home. He knew its silence, its sharpness, and the rhythm of its harsh beauty. He had walked these trails more times than he could count, chasing solitude and peace, far away from a world that had chewed him up and spit him out. He didn't expect anything different that afternoon, just another quiet hike to clear his mind. Until he heard it, a weak, desperate cry carried faintly on the wind. At first, he thought it was a bird, but then came another sound. A human voice, barely a whisper. He turned sharply, scanning the dry path ahead, heart pounding with an adrenaline he hadn't felt in years. And then he saw her, crumpled in the dust like a fallen angel, her skin pale and glistening with sweat, one arm stretched toward the trail as if trying to claw her way forward. A vicious red swelling bloomed on her ankle. A rattlesnake, long gone now, had left its deadly mark. She was dying, alone, until he came along. If you believe in the power of kindness, in second chances, and in moments that change lives forever, then take a second to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Royal Stories for more powerful human tales. Let's keep these stories alive, one heart at a time. Jason dropped to his knees beside her, barely registering the fact that she was dressed nothing like a hiker. No boots, no gear, just designer leggings now torn and dirtied by the earth, a silk blouse clinging to her drenched frame. He didn't ask questions. There was no time. He tore off his flannel shirt, wrapping it tight above the bite to slow the venom, hoisted her over his shoulder with the strength that came from years of hard labor, and began the trek back to his old pickup parked a mile away. She moaned once, her fingers twitching against his back, then went completely limp. Every step felt like a lifetime. Sweat poured down his back, dust choking his throat. But he didn't stop. He couldn't. By the time he reached the truck, her pulse was faint. He laid her across the seat and drove like hell through the winding dirt roads to the nearest emergency station 40 minutes away. The doctors said it was close. 10 more minutes and she might not have made it. Jason sat in the waiting room, dusty, exhausted, wondering why a woman like that was alone on a desert trail. When the nurse finally came out and told him she'd stabilized, he felt relief wash over him, followed by confusion when she added, "She's asking for you." He stepped into the sterile room to find her propped up in bed, a strange mix of fragility and poise in her posture. Her name, she said softly, was Elena Hartwell. And yes, he had heard that name before. A name whispered around town lately with increasing bitterness. The billionaire woman building a luxury eco-resort near the cliffs, the one locals said was ruining the landscape with her glass towers and private airstrips. The woman with the money to buy anything, but the heart, it seemed, that no one really knew. Elena looked at him like he was a miracle, like she had just seen the face of something she hadn't believed in for a long time, compassion. She asked him to sit. She thanked him, but she didn't talk about the bite. Instead, she asked about him, his life, what he was doing out there in the desert. He told her the truth. That he was a former firefighter, medically retired after an explosion left him with nerve damage and scars down his side. That he had come to the desert not to be found, but to find something of himself again. What followed in the next few weeks was not what Jason expected. Elena didn't just disappear into her wealthy world after her recovery. She came back, to the trail, to the dusty diner Jason worked part-time at, to him. And every time, she brought fewer assistants, wore simpler clothes, and carried more questions than answers. She wanted to understand the land. She wanted to hear what people were saying about her resort. She wanted Jason to show her what she had missed, what couldn't be seen on aerial maps or in market surveys. Slowly, Jason let her in. He showed her the sacred stones where generations of native families had once prayed. The hidden streams that only flowed after rare rainfalls. The caves filled with ancient petroglyphs. He told her how the land wasn't just empty, It was alive, it had memory, it had grief. Elena began to see the place not as an opportunity to expand her empire, but as a place deserving of reverence. The walls around her, ones built from years of being feared for her wealth and dismissed for her beauty, began to crumble. And in Jason, she saw someone who had nothing to gain from her, which made his presence feel safe. Real. But the world around them wasn't so forgiving. The locals still blamed Elena for their homes being threatened by construction. Activists held signs outside her office gates. One night, someone threw a brick through the window of the diner while she and Jason were sitting inside. Jason stood protectively in front of her, shielding her from the shards, his instincts from years of rescue work still sharp. That night, Elena broke down for the first time. She confessed that the resort wasn't just a business to her, it was supposed to be a redemption story. A legacy she wanted to leave behind for her late mother, who had grown up in poverty and dreamed of building something beautiful in a place that had none. But somewhere along the way, Elena had lost sight of what mattered. Jason didn't say much, he didn't need to. His presence was enough, and in that quiet night, lit by broken glass and healing hearts, something shifted between them. The next morning, Elena made a decision that shocked everyone. She announced that all construction on the resort would pause indefinitely. She invited local tribal leaders and environmentalists to consult on the project. She made a public apology. And most notably, she appointed Jason as her official liaison for community outreach, a man who once wanted nothing to do with society, now becoming its bridge to something better. The months that followed weren't easy. There were lawsuits. Investors pulled out. News channels buzzed with headlines. Billionaire halts resort to protect desert life, some applauding, others ridiculing. But Elena didn't waver. With Jason beside her, she faced every challenge. And slowly, people started to believe her change was real. The resort was redesigned to be smaller, sustainable, and rooted in native traditions. It opened 2 years later, not as a playground for the rich, but as a sanctuary for those seeking connection with the land and themselves. By then, Jason and Elena were no longer just partners in mission, they were partners in life. The man who had once saved her life had also helped her find a new one. And she, in turn, had helped him believe again, in people, in love, in the power of one chance meeting to change everything. They still walk that desert trail sometimes. The same one where she collapsed. There's a small marker there now, not grand or flashy, just a simple stone with words carved in Jason's hand, where everything almost ended, and truly began. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who needs. A reminder that life can turn around when you least expect it, and subscribe to Royal Stories for more real, emotional tales of second chances. Your support helps us keep these stories alive. Memo special request. Before you leave, tell us in the comments, do you believe one act of kindness can change a life forever? We read every message, and your voice matters.